Okay, so you've been decluttering and it's been easy enough up till now because you've just been getting rid of junk that you don't want, right? But then you get to a category like this, full of stuff you love, and you stall because you think, there's no way I can get rid of any of this stuff. How can I possibly part with this? Never fear, decluttering expert here, and I have some advice that I think you are going to find surprising. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura, and hands up who has ever hoarded craft supplies. Hobbies make us happy. They are the spice of life. They help us relax and unwind and learn new things and grow and improve. And how can you say no to something like that? Well, I want to share something that honestly changed the game for me when it came to decluttering things that I thought I could never part with. This is day 19 of the Declutter Challenge, Clutter Free in 5, where we get big results from small spaces and all in just 5 minutes. Be sure that you are subscribed, especially if your stash is starting to get out of control and it's taking over the place, because that is something that we will be covering in the next video. But back to today, the thing that changed the game for me and helped me to let go of so much more than I thought I could was giving myself permission to keep it. Hear me out. One of the hardest things about decluttering is the separation anxiety. It's letting go of something, you know, that detachment. Very often we have spent years accumulating this stuff. So to just let go of it so easily, there is fear attached there. Fear of change, fear of maybe I'll need it someday. We've all experienced that fear and that anxiety. You know, maybe I will find the perfect pair of shoes finally to go with this dress that I've had for a decade and I've never worn. That is perfectly normal, and we all experience that. It is, you know, the fact that as humans generally we don't like change, and that stuff that we have been surrounding ourselves with for so long has basically become a bit of a security blanket. We're just so used to it. It is just so much a part of our everyday that the thoughts of parting with it sometimes can leave us, you know, with the heart palpitations. There's also another reason, and that is sometimes when we get rid of something, it's like having to accept that we made a mistake, that this thing was not right for us, and that we wasted our money, wasted our time, wasted our space, and that can be a hard pill to swallow. Personally, I try to take the mentality that there are no mistakes, you know, just happy accidents and learning opportunities, but it can still be difficult when we have to face up to that fact that yes, we brought something into our home, maybe paid money for it, spent our time on it, when really we shouldn't have. There is such a thing as confirmation bias, and very briefly what that is that when you hold a belief, regardless of whether it is true or not, your brain will look for proof to back that up. So when you have something, even if you have never used it, even if you never will use it, your brain will still jump in there and say, oh well, maybe you could use it if this situation arose, or if you found this other thing to pair with it, that would be perfect. And all of these different situations and types of things. When the reality is that none of that stuff is likely to happen. So be aware of that. It can be hard to let go of things, not because you don't actually need them, but just because we have that separation anxiety, and because we don't want to feel like we have spent time and money on something that has turned out not to be good for us or not contributing in a positive way to our lives. So very often when we go into a category like this, we are going in with almost a fear mentality, that separation anxiety, but also this feeling, this assumption that we have to let go of things. That is simply not true. There are some categories, yes, where you will get rid of lots of things, but there will be other categories where you won't get rid of many things at all, if indeed anything. That's not a bad thing, and that's not a failure. All that means is that either that category means something to you and does hold value for you, or there is some other deeply personal reason why you cannot get rid of it, why you're not ready to part with it. It is not a failure on your part at all. So I want you to go into these types of categories with the mentality that it's okay to keep things if you truly love them or genuinely you're just not ready to part with them. You don't have to agonize over these things. If it is truly a wrench, then just keep that stuff. It's okay if you love it or you're not ready to part with it. It's okay if you're not quite there yet. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if you go in with this mentality that magically you will get rid of lots of stuff. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I know that the first time that I had this realization, it did help me to part with some things more than I would have otherwise, but there have been other occasions where it has just taken a little bit of time. It planted the seed for me, but I needed to mull it over and allow that seed to grow. So while I did keep some things at the time, it grew for me and I became more comfortable with the idea that I could then part with it. Sometimes you have to give yourself permission to keep something in order to accept that you can actually let go of it. I want you to remember at this stage why you are decluttering. So let's take this right back to your vision. You would have written down why you wanted to do this, what you wanted to feel in your home, and the types of things that you wanted to be able to do. It is possible that one of the things that you want to do is related to this category: hobby stuff, craft stuff, all of the stuff that you love to do. That may be part of your vision. So don't feel that you have to get rid of that stuff. It's all about whether the stuff you are keeping is getting you closer to that vision or taking you further away. In fact, it may very well be the case that this category is the reason that you are decluttering, not in the sense that you want to get rid of it, but in the sense that this is why you want to make space for yourself and clear out other things that are getting in the way. You want to make that space for yourself and that time for yourself to actually focus on this particular thing. As long as you are being honest with yourself about whether you genuinely, deep down, want to keep this thing, as long as you are honest about the role that it plays in your life, about where it fits in with your vision for your life, and also as long as it is easily accessible. You know, it's in a place where when you want it, you can grab it. Those are the only things that are really important. So revisit the questions in the workbook. There were a whole list of questions there to help you and guide you through whether or not something should stay or whether it should go. If you haven't downloaded it yet, I will leave a link in the description. And then just go through each item, asking yourself the questions and making sure that that item is adding value to your life and that it is stored in such a way that it is not only easy to access and get out, but also, as I know is a problem with crafting things, it's also easy to put away. And here then I would like to add an additional question that I think will be really illuminating for you, particularly in this category. What is the true purpose of your hobby? And is each item contributing to that or detracting from that? Let me explain. When we think of hobbies, very often we think of the fact that it's a way to relax and unwind and de-stress. But there may also be other reasons why you are engaging in a hobby. For some people, it may be a chance to challenge themselves and to grow and to pick up a new skill. They might like that idea of personal development and just always having something on the go that is slightly mentally taxing for them or even physically taxing. It might all be about improvement, or it could also be about community. Maybe you're engaging in a hobby because it helps you form social interactions and connections with people. Maybe you are doing it as a solo venture, but it is community minded in the sense that you give or donate to your community. So really get down to the true purpose of your hobby, the real root reason that you are doing it, because that can also dictate whether or not an item stays. For example, if you do enjoy knitting and you do it because you like to completely switch off, you know, it just keeps your hands busy while you were maybe watching TV, stops you from scrolling on your phone, things like that. If you do it purely to switch off from the day, you want to completely just do something mindless, then maybe you could get rid of all of those knitting patterns that are really complicated and would really require a lot of focus and attention. If on the other hand you are doing it for that reason, because you want to be challenged and you really want that focus element, then you would keep those and maybe get rid of all of the easier patterns, the stuff that you have become very familiar with. That's just something additional to keep in mind. Now, if you do think that you love everything individually, but all together they're starting to get out of hand, if you're amassing a bit of a collection that's getting out of control, we are going to be dealing with that in the next video. I'm going to be sharing lots of great advice on how you can contain that stuff and keep a handle on it. Make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on that one. Go raibh míle maith agaibh. Agus feicim mé sibh sigalua. Slán.